So welcome to the 8th and final video. And as we come to the end and to the close, there's something very powerful about the number 8. I always think of it as the infinity symbol. Every ending gives way to a new beginning. And there really is no end in that sense. So the practice, what you've learned through this journey and what it brings you to towards the close will be really beautiful fodder and ground to fertilize new beginnings. And in order to stay in our power and our agency, sometimes we have to literally let there be a death of the old ego or the old personality to give birth to the more authentic, real, honest truth of who you are. And so as we finish, we're going to do a little bit of heart opening, and I'm going to take you into a pose called Shavasana, which literally means corpse pose. And this is something we practice as yogis because we all know that there will be an end someday. That's just the truth. So the more that we welcome and understand that and how precious life is, we take that agency to savor each day and its beauty and what it offers, no matter how the lesson shows up. So I'm going to bring you into a pose called Ustrasana. It's called Camel pose. You're going to come up onto your knees and your shins. And what you want to do is separate your knees and shins about the width of your hips. All right. So you can extend your feet like I'm doing, or you can tuck your toes under. In fact, I'm going to do the version of the toes tucked under. It's a little more accessible. You do want to keep your thigh bones upright. Okay. So what you don't want to do is this. So use the strength of your legs because we're going to go into this heart opening back bend. Now, place your hands onto your lower back, lengthen your tailbone down, hug the elbows in. And as you inhale, start to extend through the spine. And as you feel this extension, you're keeping the stability of your pelvis and really feeling this back bend and this heart opening and your heart extending towards the sky. So the invitation, if you'd like, is to place your hands to your heart center. And don't let your head collapse. Keep the neck extending. Take another inhale. As you exhale, slowly come on up, uncurl your toes, and take a few moments and sit down. This pose is very activating, right? And when we activate new breath and energy, it sometimes can be overwhelming. It can pull things to the surface. So just see what surfaces and meet yourself with that kindness and compassion. That's the heart center. All right, so come back up onto your knees and your shins, separate them about the width of your hips. Tuck your toes under, place your hands to your lower back, lengthen the tailbone, roll your shoulders open, and then go into this beautiful extension through your spine, right? And as you feel that extension of your spine, you can keep your hands here, and again, you can also place your hands to prayer position. And just notice what opens as you breathe into your heart center, and as you inhale, slowly start to come on up. Uncurl your toes and take a few moments and sit down. And the invitation, if you'd like to take it, is maybe close your eyes and put your hands on your belly and your heart. Coming back to the intention of this sequence and this practice. So often we are told a version of what love is. And oftentimes that version has a lot of power trips and power plays. When we go through life and the lessons, we unpack those power systems and come back to the truth of what love really is in your own heart, your own center. Take a few moments and attune to that. Listen deeply to the wisdom of your own body. And then slowly, as you release your hands down, you're going to come to your hands and your knees and make your way into your downward facing dog. So this is just a nice counter pose to those back bends. And then from here, lower your knees back down. Step your right foot forward. Now you're going to heel toe your right foot to the left. So your shin bone is parallel to the front of the mat. And you'll extend your left leg behind you. You want to feel zero pain in your knee. So you may want to put a little blanket right under here, your right hip, or you can use a bolster or a book. So you get creative. So this is called single pigeon. Take a deep breath. You can stay upright, or you can start to take this forward fold. And as you take this forward fold, you can also rest your forehead in your hands. When we breathe deep into our hips and we slow down, sometimes things that have been lodged in our bodies will surface. So do your best to not push it down. Let yourself feel the tenderness of being present and kind and sensitive to your own needs. And just maybe recalibrating to what love is for you in your own body and what that means to you right now. And then as you inhale, slowly start to come on up. And then as you come on up, come back onto your hands and your knees and sit back for a moment in that Vajrasana. And then as you come back to the hands and the knees, you're going to step your left foot forward and then move your left foot to the right. So your shin bone is parallel to the front of the mat and your right leg extends. So kind of think of like that up dog. And then you might want to put a blanket or a towel underneath your left hip and you either stay upright or maybe you start to take a forward fold. And wherever that is, listen to your body. You want no pain in your knee. However, you might feel some pain, and it's that healthy discernment. Sometimes transformation requires discomfort. It just does. And it can be painful, but not the kind of pain that causes harm. That's why it is imperative that you listen and respond to the truth of your own body. And the more that we do this inner work and look into our own shadows and release any history of shame or guilt, shutting ourselves down, we open our voices to speak truth with kindness and compassion. So stay and breathe. And then slowly start to come on up. And then as you come up, releasing that side, this time tuck your toes, lift your knees and shins, and come into that downward facing dog. And do any kind of movement that feels good in that down dog. And then as you come down onto your knees, shift your hips to the side and swing your legs around. Now you're going to come up, this is called Dandasana. If you're rocking back on your tailbone, sometimes you need to sit up onto a little blanket, right? Or a bolster, whatever that is. And then float your arms up towards the sky. And then we'll take this brief forward fold. It's called Paschimottanasana. If you can't touch your toes, doesn't mean anything other than you're working on your hamstrings. So you might want to use a strap, maybe a little bend in your knees, shoulders away from the ears. And then these forward folds aren't just stretching our hamstrings. You're stretching your capacity to be present with sensation. And whatever that sensation tells you, you have the courage and the strength and the agency to not look away, to look toward. You give voice to your inner life. And as you inhale, slowly come on up. And when you give voice to your inner life courageously, then we can step out in the world and have more confidence in how we carry our voices. So now what we're going to do is lie down onto your backs and then hug your knees into your chest, give them a little squeeze. We'll take a simple spinal twist. So shift your hips a little to the right, roll over onto your left hip. As your knees lower to the left, let your right shoulder soften towards the ground. If this bothers your back at all, you can take your left fist and put it between your knees. Just creates nice stability in your sacrum. Right? And those bigger twists we did, now a very simple twist to bring balance to your spine, your nervous system. And then come back to center. Shimmy your hips a little to the left and roll over onto the right hip. As your knees lower to the right, let your left shoulder soften. Right? Softening is its own kind of strength. And you might want to put your fists between your knees and feel that fluid, rhythmic breath. And the courage it takes to commit to showing up. As you show up for yourself, we show up for our family, we show up for our friends, we show up for our communities, and we really show up in the world. And then as you come back to center, you can extend your legs out. So this is called Shavasana, corpse pose. And then you want to extend your legs, let your thighs roll open. If this bothers your lower back at all, consider putting a rolled up blanket underneath your knees. Right? And then let your arms drape alongside your body and your palms facing up towards the sky. And all the different shapes that you've folded your body in, now we let it all unfold, spread open, take up space. And as we move through all those twists and turns, you get to expand how you hold your power, your agency, and your creative spirit. And there will be plenty of things pulling for your attention. So stay here a little longer. Take a deep breath. Maybe a little sigh through the mouth. And just remembering that the earth has you. Mother Earth. And that fire that you built to clear the space, to clear out the channels so, like water, the energy, your creative life force can flow. And we keep stoking that with your breath and that air, that quality of love and connection. So the invitation is to perhaps pause your video and stay here a little longer. Otherwise, start to take a hand maybe to your belly, maybe to your heart, maybe it's to your third eye, and tune in and listen to the wisdom of your body. And again, remembering Shava, which is corpse pose, is the metaphorical endings that are required to fertilize and reroot new beginnings. So tuning into whatever intention you may have set for your practice, what it revealed, what it opened. And then start to reach your arms overhead, lengthen your legs, bend your knees, bring your feet onto your mat, and then take a moment to roll over to your right side. A little pause. And this is always a beautiful metaphor of rebirth, new beginnings. And then slowly, in your own time, make your way into any comfortable seat. And as you come into the seat, feeling the sit bones rooted, we've gone on a journey together. And thank you for joining me. So as you sit wherever you do on the planet, yoga keeps reminding all of us the self-care, which is so important to nurture yourself and have that agency, is really not just for the I, it is for the we. We are all connected. So a moment maybe with your hands at your heart in gratitude. I'm so grateful that you showed up. So grateful to be able to share this love of yoga with you and the transformation and the growth that has helped me on my own path. Thank you so very much. Mercy.